see. All right, good boy. Come on, let's go. Come on. Good boy. The Christmas hat. Good boy.
How you going, guys? Kurtis
And Karen
from Cutting Edge Engineering.
We just want to say Merry Christmas. This is our last video for the year. It's been a massive year for us, not only with creating YouTube videos, doing one nearly every week, but also for our business and with all of our customer jobs. Take over.
We have been completely inundated with work, and the scale of jobs has just been getting so much bigger, which means they are taking a little bit longer to do. But at the moment, we are at maximum capacity and couldn't possibly take on any more.
Yeah, so it has been a really big year for us. We've been extremely busy, but we did want to say thank you so much for all of your support throughout the year with watching videos, whether it's just watching, all those who have taken the time to drop a comment, we really appreciate it, and just all of the support you guys have given us. On top of all that, we had a really successful merch launch this year. We were so blown away by the response and how quickly a lot of the merchandise sold out once again. And on top of that, we were able to make another huge donation to the Staffy Rescue Foundation, in part from the super thanks contributions you guys have made on the YouTube videos, as well as all of the safety officer merch that you guys have purchased. And we, of course, matched that dollar for dollar. So it was a donation of over $6,000 we were able to make this year. So thank you so much, everybody.
And because of how busy we are in the workshop, this year we did decide to concentrate more on our own shop-made tooling, our own projects and our Franna crane. Because filming customer jobs, it does take quite a lot longer to do that, and we just didn't have the time to allocate to do it.
But that was a really great choice for us because we were able to move forward with getting a lot of workshop projects done that we've been putting off for many years, and get a lot of tooling made that is going to help make jobs a lot more efficient and easier for Kurtis in the workshop. Something else we were really happy about and has made a huge difference for our business and the workshop and for Kurtis and his time is the installation of our overhead gantry crane.
So yes, it has been a massive year for us, and there are big plans coming for 2026, and we've actually spent the last couple of days completely reorganizing the workshop. So we're going to take you out into the workshop and show you what we've been up to.
Righto guys, so this video is a little bit different. Normally Kurtis would be talking you through everything, but he was flat out getting everything done and we almost had no time to get commentary and explanations along the way, so I thought I'd fill in the gaps and give Kurtis a break from using his words. So one of the first things we tackled was moving the Extron CNC from the very back of the building up closer to the front doorway. We did decide it was best to sell the CNC and move it on because unfortunately we never got rid of all the gremlins that it had, even though Troy spent many hours trying to get it solved. It was having some server driver issues that we weren't able to fix ourselves without having to look at costly options, and right now that wasn't something we wanted to put our time or money into, so we did decide it was best to move it on. And because the CNC was being collected that day, we needed it to be easy to get to without moving half of the workshop around. A centimeter at a time. Ooh. Kurtis and I had spent most of this year looking at where we want to take our business next. That meant being honest about what still fit and what didn't. As our direction changes, we did start to realize that some equipment, even really good gear, no longer made sense for us and how we want our business to move going forward. And there is always a bit of hesitation when moving things on, but holding on to something just because it's familiar usually ends up being a limitation. and we really needed some of our workshop space back. So we also decided to move on some other machines. One of the hardest decisions was the Huron bed mill. We have decided that will be sold, and we've moved it out into storage until it does sell. One thing we also sold was the Russian Stanko lathe. We always had the intention of selling that. It was a part of a machinery deal and we never intended to use that one. The other thing that we're moving on, but only into storage, is the jig borer. We do plan in the future to get that back up and running and put back into service, but the Zayer bed mill has actually replaced pretty much everything that we would have been using the jig borer for anyway, so it made sense just to get that out of the way as well. We knew making these changes would free up a huge amount of space for what we have planned next.
So much space. What could we fill it with?
So with the floor space freed up, it was time to start reorganizing the entire workshop, and first up was moving the lathes around. But before anything could go into its new spot, both the frontline lathe and the smaller lathe had to get moved out of the way. And while he was at it, Kurtis also finally gave the floor a proper clean underneath where those lathes had been sitting. With that done, the next step was to reposition the big Shenyang lathe, and the goal here was to put it in a position so it could become a dedicated setup for our metal arc spray and flame spray work that we do. That kind of work makes much more sense closer to the fabrication area, away from all of the machining work that we need to do on the other lathes.
Righto guys, so the workshop shuffle is going really well. We've got the two smaller lathes moved out of the way, and I've now got the Shenyang into its new home. Now what I need to do is move the Zayer milling machine. We've never had to move that before. It is 14.5 ton. Scott's Transport brought it in and put it in the exact place it's been since we've had it. Now what the plan is we need to skate that into its new position. So I do need to turn it 90 degrees and then push it up against the wall into where the Shenyang used to be. So all we've got to move it with is the 5-ton forklift, the 6.5-ton overhead gantry, and a set of skates. Hopefully we can get it moved without too much drama.
So this is one of those jobs that can look easy enough on camera, but actually takes a lot of patience in reality. Before the Zayer could be moved at all, Kurtis had to go through the slow process of jacking it up in stages so the feet could be removed before the machinery skates were positioned underneath. Once it was ready, the 5-ton forklift came into play and it actually moved the Zayer into position without too much drama, which is always a relief. A big part of moving and repositioning the Zayer was making sure all the clearances would be right. So something Kurtis did do was put the ram all the way back. That way when he positioned this by the wall, there wouldn't be any interference issues in the future with moving the ram. But that did mean there was quite a bit of space in behind the Zayer, which will be utilised for storage. We also had to make sure that the bed had space either side to allow it for full traversing, or even in the odd circumstance where we might have extra long jobs that do hang off the end of the bed, that there would be clearance for that as well. After that, the process had to start all over again of jacking it up to remove the machinery skates before the feet could be placed back underneath, and Kurtis then had to make sure everything was leveled properly again. And with the Zayer sorted, the 2 lathes could then be moved back in and set up in their new positions for now. With the Zayer reposition, that opened up a lot more usable space along that side of the workshop where it used to be, which then allowed us to push the Sunnon horizontal hone further back. The honing machine is around 10 meters long, and Kurtis did not want to take any risk trying to move it as one complete unit with the forklift. It is designed as two halves that are bolted together, so the safest option was to separate it the way it was intended. That meant disconnecting the wiring, undoing all of the joining bolts, and carefully moving each half individually into its new position. Once both halves were in place, everything was bolted back together, reconnected, and checked over. It definitely took a lot more time, but it was the safest way to do it to make sure the honing machine didn't get damaged. And you will probably also notice the big white wall in the background here. That's something Kurtis recently installed. It is made up of insulated panels and was something we had wanted to do for quite a while. And it's designed to clearly separate our side of the workshop, but also does a really good job of obscuring all the storage and not so pretty stuff that lives on the other side. And it was one of those changes that instantly made the space feel cleaner and more organized, and we think it looks fantastic. So we've definitely had a lot of things happening already, but we are far from done. But with the major repositioning done of all the machinery, we moved on to installing a wall to separate the machining area from the fabrication side of the workshop. So Kurtis fabricated an upright for each end of the wall. He used 75 by 75 by 3 mil SHS, 50 by 3 mil flat bar, and some 10 mil plate that he cut and drilled to use as the bases, and then he welded it all together and gave them a coat of workshop blue paint. So we got the first upright position down one end, had to mark out the bolt holes, get them drilled, and then bolted that down using self-tapping concrete rock bolt anchors. Before he installed the second upright, he did need to put in the wall panels. For the wall itself, we used two panels, and they are the same ones that we used on the big wall. These are actually insulated fridge panels. It's made from 50mm foam, which has a 0.4mm Colorbond sheet on each side. They're very strong, but also surprisingly lightweight. The panels that we're using for this wall are 7 meters long and 1.2 meters tall, and they will be stacked one on top of each other. Once those were in place, Kurtis could install the final upright and get that bolted down. And the wall's designed to help keep the grinding dust away from the precision equipment, but it also is going to act as a backing wall for when the Shenyang is being used for metal spray work, and it's one of those practical changes that solves multiple problems at once. We are really happy with how this turned out, and we did end up having to move the big lathe over slightly just so everything lined up cleanly and allowed enough clearance that was needed for the Zayer bed to fully traverse. With most of the workshop layout now sorted, we turned our attention to a new air system for the metal arc sprayer. So we worked out that unfortunately the original air setup in the workshop just was not up to the task to get the i450 arc spray machine running at full capacity. It did not give us the pressure or volume we needed to run the sprayer properly, and if we left it as it was, it would have limited the type and size of work we could realistically take on. So we made the call to invest in an upgrade. The new setup includes a high inlet refrigerated dryer and an upright air receiver, along with the supporting gear like a regulator and filter, 20 meters of air hose with couplings and all the associated fittings. It all runs off our existing Airman compressor, which we already use for the dustless blaster, so it integrates nicely into what we already had, and going with that option saved us quite a lot of money.
It's like a minion.
It's like pushing a pram. Once everything was unpacked and in position, Kurtis test fitted all the connections first to make sure the layout made sense and everything lined up. Kurtis also had to install a relief valve at the top of the tank and a drain tap at the bottom to manage moisture. After that, everything came back apart, thread tape was applied, and it was all reassembled properly. He also installed a feed line that runs from the tank to the dryer and then from the dryer through to the arc spray system. Getting all the parts together for this setup took a bit of patience. Unfortunately, we had to wait for items that were out of stock, and we did have parts coming from multiple locations around the country, but it was one of those upgrades we wanted to do once and do properly, and now that it's in, it's going to give us the capacity and consistency we were missing before, and it sets us up much better for the work we have planned going forward.
hectic.
So now that's set up, that is going to make a massive difference for our arc spray system. And now we're going to move the Franna into its new home over here. Righto guys, so that's the Franna in its new position. It's going to be a lot easier to work on it out here in the open in the workshop. This is now its dedicated spot. And now that we've cleared out that corner, we're going to be setting up some pallet racking, and that is going to be for incoming and outgoing customer jobs. Righto, so that's all of our pallet racking set up. That is going to be a great way to utilise that space to store customer jobs coming in and out, where beforehand we were storing them on the floor, and of a morning and an afternoon I would have to spend about 10 minutes moving jobs out and then moving them back in. So not only have we gained a lot of floor space back, I'm also going to gain a lot of time. So that's pretty much it for moving the workshop around for now, but what I do need to do is get stuck into trying to organise all of the tooling. So what we're going to do next is bring in some new workshop storage that we recently made and get that set up. That's our storage rack set up, and it worked out perfectly. Everything fits in there exactly as it should, and it is out of the way but still under the crane and still in the machining area. And I've also gone ahead and set up the vertical shelves with all of the random bits and pieces from around the workshop. I think that's going to be a good location for it right in the middle of the fabrication area, but it is going to be easy enough to crane it and move it somewhere else if we want to. And the last thing we need to set up is the hanging shelves that go on the side of the press for all of the press tooling.
Ooh, yeah. Wait, that looks sick.
I know. I'm really happy with how they've turned out. Not only do they look great, but they are going to be very functional. Now I don't have to go digging through a crate to find the right piece of tooling to do a job. I can have everything on the press. Righto guys, that's our workshop setup completed for now. It did take many months in order to get to this point. Because we are a fully functioning workshop, we only had a very short window of time, only a couple of days to get everything decommissioned, moved into position to where we wanted it, where everything was going to be really efficient for the workflow and get it all set up again. So something we did to help with that is I did get Troy to do a 3D model of the workshop, and then we 3D printed the workshop layout and all of the machinery to scale, so we could then place all the machinery in the position where we think they were going to work best and know that they were going to go into their new location and there was going to be plenty of room around them to work. So I'm really happy with the layout of the workshop now. This is how I've always wanted it, because we were no longer limited by using the forklift and having the space for that in between machinery to bring in customer jobs and material. And the one thing that made it all possible was our overhead crane. And the whole reason we had to do this is we do have a new machine coming, and it does take up quite a lot of floor space, and now we have that area ready for when the new machine arrives. So we'll see you in 2026. Thanks for watching.
You gotta start. You just gotta start. Okay. Or do we come in from the sides?
No, because I've got nowhere to go. Or do I just like
Let's see.
come in here and like?
Could do that.
No.
That's as far as that bed goes, hey?
What bed was that?
Yeah.
No.
What? Why didn't you? Why don't you move that?
What?
That panel there.
It's fucking walking, it's fucking moving.
That's better. I think you're meant to press another button.
Any?
Oh my god. What would you press? That?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's trying to set itself to a temperature. I guess 5 is the lowest it goes to.
I guess it's fixed. Stop doing things.
Maybe we should read the instructions.
Oh, no.
What doing?
Didn't turn the tap on, so there's no actual air going through it at the moment.
Okay.
I'll turn the tap on, see what happens. Bang!
No.
So that's all set up, and that is going to make a massive difference for our arc spray system. Next thing I'm going to do is move the Franna into here. So that's pretty much it for using the workshop. So that's pretty much it for moving the workshop.
What is happening?
Right, I got.
Oh! Hang on. Come on. Come. Hey. Drop it. Hey, drop it. Sit. No, leave it.